Shem Angel 19, Leuviah. This is the angel of intelligence, memory, and connecting to the divine. Today we are going to do an in-depth analysis of this particular video, paying close attention to the classical understanding and a Cabalistic analysis also, which is always there, and we'll be looking at historical analysis. The latest material that I use in these videos for the Shem Angels is the 1823 Science of the Qabalah of Lazar Lenain, published in 1823. Everything else is from earlier material. But that book is widely used for its office of each angel. So Shem Angel 19 governs intelligence, memory, and connecting to the divine. I think that it's probably significant that this angel actually began when it comes to the sun illuminating the quinary of 5 degrees of this angel at the summer solstice. The first 5 degrees of Cancer, which in the northern hemisphere is the summer solstice, and the idea of knowledge, enlightenment, knowledge, memory, which is needed for learning, and connection to the divine, all seem to connect with complete illumination, the highest amount of light and illumination from the source of life in the physical universe, being the sun, to the source of life, whether it be seeking knowledge, memory, and intelligence. Knowledge, the full illumination, the longest day of the year in the northern hemisphere, has to do with illumination of the intellect, and then also our connection to the divine, again returning to the source of all life and the highest amount of daylight. So the pronunciation of the angel name, Leuviah, not to be confused with Leuviah, which was the root letters were in that case Lamed, Aleph, Vav. This Shem angel, it's actually Lamed, Vav, Vav. The 3 Hebrew letters are Lamed, Vav, Vav. Therefore, using base vowels, the divine name is La, Wa, Wa. When it comes to the English pronunciation, comparing all of the classical sources with how the name is pronounced in English or Latin letters, we have conformity. Leuviah. What are the sources for this? So the Lamed is Le. The first Vav is U. The third Vav, or the third letter, second Vav, is V. Leuuiah. By adding Yah to the divine name, you get the angel name Leuviah. Once again, it's very important to understand what the Shem angels are. The word Shem in Hebrew means name. Shem in Hebrew means name. Therefore, a Shem angel is a name angel. Shem angel means name angel. These are angels of 72 names of God that by adding El or Yah to the divine name, you get the Shem angel. So anyways, Cornelius Agrippa is the different one in the history. He writes this, Cornelius Agrippa writes Leuviah in English or Latin letters, Leuuiah, Leuuiah. So what Agrippa basically does, he agrees that Lamed is Le. He agrees that the first Vav is U, but he makes the third Vav in the divine name also U, So Cornelius Agrippa gives this Shem angel name in English or Latin letters is Leuuiah. This is not followed by Dr. Rudd, who makes the second vav a v sound, giving us lamed vav vav, giving us Leuviah. And this is followed by the divine Cabal, Leuviah, and this is also followed by Lazar Lanane's Science of the Qabalah in 1823, Leuviah. So there is conformity throughout the last 500 years. There is conformity throughout the last 500 years with the Shem angel name in English or Latin letters is Leuviah. The difference being that Agrippa makes the second vav also an oo sound, Leuuiah. Anyway, so, Leuviah. We do know how to pronounce the name in English or Latin letters, and it is Leuviah. Again, the Shem angel of intelligence, memory, and connecting to the divine. Again, I think it's significant that the influence when it comes to the sun entering the quinary of 5 degrees rolled by the angel began at the summer solstice in the northern hemisphere, the brightest day of the year. Shem angel 19 Leuviah. So, I'm going to start with the latest material historically that I use, the 1823 Science of the Qabalah, and then we're going to work backward through history, and then we're going to give a Kabbalistic analysis. So, this is what Science of the Qabalah, published by Lazar Lanane in 1823, says. By the way, on YouTube, it's not found elsewhere, but if you're going to be watching this on YouTube, there's going to be included a link. You should see a link. It says tagged product or whatever. It's a link to the book Science of the Qabalah by Lazar Lanane. So if you're going to be watching on YouTube and you see the little thing that says tagged product, if you click that, it'll take you to Amazon or wherever it is, and it'll get you the book cheaply. Which you don't have to use my link. Full disclosure, it costs you the same. It costs you the same amount of money, but I do get a little bit of a commission. Or if you want to, you can just go look it up. But that is a tagged thing. For Science of the Qabalah. It's great to have for the offices. Anyway, Science of the Qabalah 1823, the latest material I use in these videos. The office of Shem Angel 19 Leuviah. This is what Lazar Lanane says in 1823 about this angel. This genius governs our memory and intelligence. That's all he really says there, and then he goes into those born under the influence. This genius governs memory and intelligence. The person born under its influence will be amiable and cheerful, modest in speech and simple in manner, and will endure adversity with resignation and great patience. Now, patience and enduring adversity are going to be important when we get into the Psalm verse. So, once again, Science of the Qabalah in 1823, about 2 centuries. The office, this genius governs our memory and intelligence. Memory and intelligence. So think learning, think studying, think taking a class. Memory and intelligence. Those born under its influence will be amiable and cheerful, modest in speech, and simple in manner, and will endure adversity with resignation and great patience. Very interesting. So that is material from 1823, Science of the Qabalah, which is very important in the history of the Shem angels. This book... So the way the Shem angels work, it's probably very, 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 very ancient. If we really go to the history, the 72 divine names are mentioned in, I think, in the, is it even in the Gemara, in the Midrashim, in the Midrashes, And the 72 divine names are mentioned in the Zohar, the Sefer HaZohar, the Bahir, the earliest Kabbalistic writings, the writings of Abraham of Leuviah. The Zohar says that Elisha raised the dead using the 72 divine names. So this 72 divine names is found throughout the earliest Kabbalistic literature, back to the Middle Ages and much earlier probably. There are 72 Hebrew letters in these 3 verses, exactly 72 letters. This was put there obviously intentionally. It's very odd to not have one number off. It's not 72, 73, and 76. It's 72, and it's in 3 very specific lines. So quite probably this was always a Kabbalistic mystery, just my own opinion. And while Shem angels are not specifically mentioned in the Kabbalistic literature, emphasis is placed on the divine names themselves. The passage that the 3 verses talks about the angel of the Lord, the angel of God, and the pillar of cloud. And so clearly the names are associated with the angelic. And then, of course, we have the 3rd book of Enoch. The 3rd book of Enoch, which is very early, comes from late antiquity, talks about 72 angels that govern the nations and the turning of the cosmos, 72 angel princes that govern the 72 nations, 72 languages, all things 72. So, we do have the 3rd book of Enoch, which is important for angelology. It's the same text that talks about Enoch being transformed into Metatron. The 3rd book of Enoch talks about 72 angel princes. And if you know anything about Qabalah, you'll know that there are 72 divine names would govern the 72 angels. And anyways, so the earliest actual references to Shem angels by adding El or Yah. So there are all these earlier roots come to us in the 1500s and later with actually Christian Kabbalistic writers, which include Johann Reuchlin in 1517, Art of the Qabalah. Cornelius Agrippa, yes, he was a Christian Kabbalist. Cornelius Agrippa, although many people don't want to hear that, he was a Kabbalist. His whole 3rd book in 1333 had more Qabalah than ever. And Cornelius Agrippa was also a Catholic. So this is a little bit of an important controversial thing with the Shem angels, is that the earliest writings are from these Christian Kabbalists of the 1500s and later. So we have Johann Reuchlin's De Arte Cabalistica, Cornelius Agrippa in the 1500s, and then a century later in the 1600s, we have the Jesuit Athanasius Kircher, always tied to Qabalah, but from these Christian Kabbalistic writers of the Renaissance. And then, of course, it carries forward into Lazare Lenain. So we basically followed the history of the 72 Shem angels from possibly biblical times, these 3 verses, all the way through the 3rd book of Enoch, all the way through the Talmudic and Midrash period of 72 names, all the way forward into the earliest Kabbalistic texts, the Zohar, the Bahir, Abraham of Leuviah, all the way through, medieval Jewish writings, and then these Renaissance Christian Kabbalist occultists in the 1500s began publicizing, and then on to today. Anyway, so I don't know why I went through that long digression of history, but it is important to know, and it is accurate. I spent a great deal of time looking at the history of the Shem angels, And so that is accurate information and very important and good to know. The good thing about being on the internet is a face. If you say something incorrect, people will correct you. It keeps us on the straight and narrow. It makes sure that we're very specific with what we say, because otherwise people will tear you apart. But it keeps people like me accountable. Anyway, so enough of that digression. Athanasius Kircher, in his Oedipus Egyptiacus, published in 1652 to 1654, so we're looking at the 1600s, he gives the divine attribute of Shem Angel 19, Leuviah. Kircher's divine attribute in the 1600s of Leuviah, Shem Angel 19, is God quick to listen. God quick to listen. The Latin Deus Festinus ad Audiendum. So Athanasius Kircher in the 1600s gives us God quick to listen as the attribute. Now, this is very significant because the way this divine name is often worked with in Jewish Qabalah is to connect with the divine through prayer or connecting. Okay? So, we'll get into that in a bit in Jewish mysticism and Kabbalah, at least going back to Ashlag and that Hasidic thing, and then on later, of course, through, things like Kabbalah Center. In Jewish Kabbalists usually work with the divine name 19, Leuuiah, Lamed Vav Vav, for removing blockages to connecting to the divine and for connecting with the divine. Like if you ever, in Jewish mysticism, if you feel like your prayers are not being heard, or you feel like, your prayers you're not really connecting when you pray, in Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah, they'll work with Leuuiah, this divine name, to plug us in to the divine. This is expressed, I have the book outside, I believe, The 72 Names of God, Technology for the Soul, by Yehuda Berg. Very interesting book. The 72 Names of God, Technology for the Soul, written by Yehuda Berg. I'm going to tag that product as well. I'm not just trying to make money off of y'all, You can go look it up if you'd like, or you can click the links I'm going to put. But yeah, it's good to have as a book. Understanding that what Yehuda Berg says in the 72 Names of God, Technology for the Soul, what he says in this book, he claims that it comes from all these earlier Jewish sources, which I haven't gone into, and suppose there's a continuity with Ashlag the Rebbe in Hasidic Judaism. But anyways, yes, these two books are very important. These two books are very important if you want to work with the Shem angels. I highly recommend one book, Science of the Kabbalah by Lazar Lenain. The second book is going to be The 72 Names of God, Technology for the Soul by Yehuda Berg. So anyway, back to this. So we know that in Jewish Kabbalah, often people work with the divine name Leuuiah, Lamed Vav Vav, for plugging into the divine. So, it's interesting that both of these, what Lazar Lenain says, that it's a Shem angel of intelligence and memory, and what modern Jewish Kabbalah with the 72 divine names says about connecting to the divine. Both of these connect with Athanasius Kircher's Oedipus Egyptiacus in the 1600s, where he says the divine attribute is God quick to listen. By the way, that's where Lazar Lenain in his Science of the Kabbalah, if you have that pink book, Science of the Kabbalah by Lazar Lenain, where he mentions the attribute, he's getting it from Kircher, and his psalm verses from Kircher. That's his source. So Lazar Linnaean in 1823 was looking 2 centuries earlier at Athanasius Kircher's Oedipus Aegyptiacus. So anyways, God quick to listen. That connects with the idea of plugging into the divine. And God quick to listen as an attribute of the Shem angel also connects with intelligence and memory. God quick to listen. We have to listen. We have to pay attention when we study and learn. Quick to listen. We have to have our awareness and our focus in what we're learning. If we want to have memory and intelligence, we need to be quick to listen. The Psalm verse, which connects to both of these, the Psalm verse is in the Masoretic text. The Psalm verse is 40, verse 2. For those of you using the King James or something, it's Psalm 40, verse 1. The Psalm verse is, so the Psalms have been connected with the 72 divine names since the 1500s with Rabbi Menachem Azariah de Faro, who lived 72 years. Wait, I've got it actually written down, I think. Where did I put it? Where'd it go? I don't read off at paper, I just go by memory, but I do write bullet points, so I don't forget to bring it. Here it is. Okay, Rabbi Menachem Azariah de Faro. He was born in 1548. He died in 1620. These people are important through history, because when you work with a Shem angel, each of these figures throughout the centuries were there earlier before us, and we stand upon their backs. The reason we reach up so high is because we're on the backs of those who came before us. Hey Kurt, how are you doing? It's so great to see you here. I hope you didn't write that a while back and I didn't see it. Sometimes I don't see comments. Thank you so much for being here, Kurt. So Rabbi Menachem Azariah de Faro, he was born in 1548 and he died in 1620. He found a way to work with the 72 divine names, the 72 names of God in Qabalah, indirectly through the Psalm verses, because there are 3 letters of the divine name, like Lamed Vav Vav, La Wa Wa in this case, around a tetragram in the Hebrew of the Psalm verse. This was copied probably by Kircher in the 1600s, which was copied by Lazar Linnaean, which was copied by Dr. Thomas Rudd, which was copied in the Divine Cabal. And that's why today, when you look up a Shem angel, there will be a Psalm verse that always comes with the call throughout the centuries. The last 500 years of Shem angel work, the last 500 years of Shem angel work in ceremonial magic or mysticism, the last 500 years since the beginning, the Psalm verse plugs you into the specific angel. The Psalm verse, I hate to say activates the angel. The Psalm verse is part of the call. So thank you, Rabbi Menachem Azariah de Faro, who lived 72 years, born in 1548 to 1620. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Rabbi. So there's continuity between Rabbi Menachem Azariah de Faro, Athanasius Kircher, Dr. Rudd has the same Psalm verse. So this is so cool, y'all, about Shem Angel 19, Leuviah, Shem Angel 19. 500 years, this Psalm verse has been intimately connected with Shem Angel 19, Leuviah. Rabbi Menachem de Faro gives the Psalm verse of this divine name as, again, Psalm 40, verse 2 in the Masoretic text, Psalm 40, verse 1 in the Protestant King James. So Rabbi Menachem de Faro gives this Psalm verse for this name. Athanasius Kircher in the 1600s gives this Psalm verse for Shem Angel 19, Leuviah. Dr. Rudd has this Shem angel and this psalm verse written on the Shem angel pentacle in the 1600s or early 1700s, whatever, and then signs of the Qabalah Lazar Linane in the 1800s on to today. So what is the psalm verse of this angel? Shem angel 19, Leuviah, again used for this angel is associated with memory, intelligence, and connecting to the divine. The psalm verse, Masoretic text, Psalm 40, verse 2. I waited patiently for the Lord, and he inclined to me and heard my cry. I waited patiently for the Lord, and he inclined unto me and heard my cry. The Hebrew, Kavo kiviti Adonai, Kavo kiviti Adonai, Vayet Eli Vayoshma Shavati. So, the Li towards me, so the Hebrew of the psalm verse, Kavo, patiently, Kiviti, I waited, Adonai, four-lettered name tetragrammaton, Vayet, and so, Li, he inclined to me. El in this case refers to being direction. Li, he inclined to me. The lamed in Li, he inclined to me in Hebrew, is the lamed of the first letter of the Shem angel name. Leuviah, the lamed, Li, he inclined to me. Va yoshma, and he heard me. The first vav, the second letter of Leuviah, the u, Leuviah. So le, Eli, toward he inclined to me. U, the first vav. The u is the vav in vayoshma, and he heard me. It's the and he heard me. Vayoshma, shavati, the vav in shavati, my cry, is the third vav, the third letter in the divine name, the second vav, shavati, the v in shavati, he heard me. So in the psalm verse, Kavo kiviti Adonai Vayet Eli, the lamed, he inclined to me, Vayoshma, and he heard me, Shavati, my cry, the Vav. So this goes back 500 years with the Shem angel, and you can see very clearly here the three letters of the Shem angel name, root name, in the psalm verse around a tetragram. Kavo kiviti Adonai Vayet Vayet la. Why am I messing up? Kavo kiviti Adonai Vayet Eli Vayoshma Shavati. I waited patiently. Now this idea is important. Lazar Linane's office, many centuries later with this Shem angel in the 1800s, his office, it says the person born under this influence will endure adversity with resignation and great patience. This idea of patience is found in the psalm verse. I waited patiently for the Lord, and he inclined unto me and heard my cry. Patience. Now, here's a paradox. That divine attribute in the 1600s with Athanasius Kircher is Deus Festinus Audiendum, God quick to listen. What is this paradox? I waited patiently. If you're waiting patiently, what does that mean? And he inclined unto me and heard my cry. Patience, but it's God quick to listen as the attribute in the 1600s. What does this mean? I think something important to understand about the word for patience. The word for patience here, kavo, is expectation. confident expectation. And it is absolutely not a reinterpretation. It's in the word itself. It's another, kind of like in Spanish, esperar, to wait, also means to expect, te espero. It means I hope, I wait, also I expect, I hope. So, anyways, Cabal. I would say that another interpretation that is correct is confident expectation. If you're waiting for it to happen, that means you're expecting what you're calling for, you're expecting it to take place. We need to fight against doubt. Whatever you're doing, whether you're doing a divine names practice to manifest things, or whether you're doing a Shem angel invocation, whatever you're doing, you need to have faith. It is very important. If you don't have faith, let's say you're doing a divine name practice, nothing's going to happen. You're not going to change your life by just making sounds, la wah wah. If you're not plugged in with faith and conviction and plugged into the divine, otherwise you're not plugged in with the spiritual root, the source. You're just saying things with your mouth. It's like trying to run a machine without it being plugged into the wall. There's no power. You can hit the button to turn it on, but since it's not plugged into the power outlet, you can hit the button. You may think it's broken. This Shem angel thing's not working. The divine name's not working. It's like you thinking the thing's not working because it's not plugged into the wall. You're hitting the button to turn it on. You got to plug in. Plugging in could be, it depends on you. It doesn't have to be. It could be religious. Connecting with the angels, connecting with God in prayer. It doesn't have to be. I believe Shem angel workings and working with Qabalah too is for everybody, irrespective of religion. So it could also be kind of less traditional in the tradition, but it could be through meditation, through connecting with the divine and nature, through being a kind-hearted person. If you look throughout the literature with the Shem angels, the Cabalistic stuff with the divine names, a clean heart is important. So anyways, I don't want to, come off any kind of certain way, but I'm trying to help people. If you want success with Shem angels, and you want success with the divine names, it's helpful to have two important things. A clean heart. A clean heart is what plugs you in to the divine names and the Shem angels. A clean heart. Second, faith. You need to believe in your workings. Okay? Faith and a clean heart and a connection with the divine. Again, not a king on a throne, but the root of being. However you see that, whether to you that is, God of the Torah, or whether to you that's the Tao or Brahm, whatever. I think you can be any religion, any or no religion, and work with Shem angels. But you have to get the most out of Shem angel workings with the divine names. If you're not plugged into the divine, whatever that means to you, right? If you're not plugged into the divine, because we humans can come up with all kinds of names for it, or traditions, but it's all around the same mystery. If we're not plugged into the divine, we're not going to have the success we want with Shem angels and names. You're just mechanically saying things. Okay, it's like my analogy. It needs to be, it's like hitting a button to turn something on and it's not plugged in. You think the object is broken. This isn't working. No, It's not plugged in. It's not broken. You're an idiot for not fucking plugging it in. Pardon French. I didn't mean to say that in my video. It just slipped out. But you gotta plug it in. So anyway, just my opinion, alright? You want success with the divine names work. You want to change your life with the Shem angels. A clean heart. My honest opinion. And it is consistent throughout the centuries. A clean heart and being plugged into the divine. And they will work for you. And faith. Faith. You have to believe. So belief and a clean heart. Anyways, where was I going to go with this? So, the idea of intelligence and knowledge and listening. The idea in Jewish mysticism of this divine name, of connecting with the divine, which actually goes back to what I just said. Yeah, I just made that connection. I didn't even think of that until now. But that's part of the purpose of Shem Angel 19 Leuviah and the divine name Leuuiah, Lamed Vav. Part of the purpose of it is plugging into the divine. So very interesting that I entered that into this video, because that's what this Shem Angel and divine name help you to do, to plug into the divine. Don't think like I need to go be a certain faith or religion. No. Use the divine name and just seek whatever the mystery of mystery, the ground of being, right? Say la wa wa, and seek that connection to the root of being. Okay, so don't think dogma. Just, it could be the Tao, Brahman. My honest opinion, all cultures around the earth have sought a divine mystery. So, you know, not thinking of religion, but just the letters are different frequencies, different sequences. Okay, Lamed Vav and Vav, La Wa Wa. Reciting this divine name while seeking to plug into the divine. Or memory and intelligence. But anyways, I waited patiently could be interpreted as expecting the result, expectantly waiting, knowing that you may not see the result right now, but it will come. That's faith, and it's required for success. Knowing that you may not see the result you want right now in your life, but expectant waiting, knowing that at any time it will occur. When you identify what will come into your life with how life is right now, if you think life won't change, then you're identifying reality for you is just malkut. You're ignoring the whole top of the tree. When you think the future will be how life is now, you're not being a cause, you are being an effect in your life. You're identifying with Malkut, the matter, the whole higher part of the tree. You are not what you are right now in matter, and neither is life. Okay? Realizing the potential of what could be, realizing, knowing that blessings will come to you, faith, conviction, is working these higher forces which come down into Malkut. Malkut's the last thing. It's the last Sephira. Faith brings down divine power to change life. So, the psalm verse of this Shem Angel 19, Leuviah, I waited patiently for the Lord, means to wait patiently. You wait expectantly. You know that it will occur. You know. You're not identifying what will be with how things look right now. Okay? You're expecting the event. So the psalm verse of the Shem Angel, Psalm 40, verse 1, in the I waited patiently for the Lord, and he inclined unto me and heard my cry. Masoretic text, Psalm 40, verse 2. Kavo Kiviti Hashem, or Adonai, Vayet Eli, he inclined to me, the Lamed, Vayoshma, and he heard me. The first Vav, the second letter, Shavati, my cry. Third. I waited patiently for the Lord, and he inclined unto me and heard my cry. I waited expectantly. Another interpretation. I waited expectantly for the Lord, and so he inclined unto me and heard my cry. Kavo kiviti Adonai vayet Eli vayoshma shavati. These could be used as like mantras, reciting the psalm verse in English or Hebrew. And then we have the divine name practice. So really we've kind of worked through a lot of what this angel does and what this angel is throughout the centuries. I want to point out also the gematria of the root name Lamed Vav Vav is 42. Gematria is important. Lamed is 30, Vav is 6, Vav is 6. So the Hebrew letters are also numbers. Add them together. 30 plus 6 plus 6 is 42. 42 is also the gematria of Lahava. Lahava means a flame of a fire, the tongue of flame, Lahava in Hebrew. Gematria 42, just like Lamed Vav Vav, the divine name has a gematria 42, so we take the divine name Lamed Vav Vav, we add it together, we get 42. What other words equal 42 that seem to click? Lahava means the tongue of a fire. Inflame yourself with prayer is something that many people familiar with modern occultism, Crowley, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, Mathers. You've heard inflame yourself in prayer. Again, not getting religious here, but however, to inflame yourself with passion, which is in the heart. To inflame yourself with passion, Lahava, is the tongue of flame. So the tongue of flame, gematria 42, connects with Leuviah, Lamed Vav Vav, through the gematria 42. Also, the Lamed He Vet, that's the letter Bet, but with a V sound, He, spells, so there are two letters. It's Lamed He Vet He. Lamed and Vet spells Lev, heart. Lev is heart. And then two He's. He is 5. He plus He is 10. Yod. So you can interpret Leuviah, Lahava, Lamed He Vet He, as add the two He's, you get Yod, and the Lev, the heart, the fire of the heart, which returns to this idea of the tongue of flame, and the Yod, which is a flame in the heart. Inflame your heart in devotion. Inflame your heart, and that is going to plug you into the divine source. That's going to plug you in with the Shem angel. So that connects us. That's this idea of plugging into the wall outlet, plugging into the divine, the root and cause of behind nature and the trees and the sky and all the ground of being. Plugging into our source connects with the gematria 42, Lahava, tongue of fire, also Lev and Yod, the Yod at the heart. Also, Gedulah, a name for Chesed. Gedulah, another name for Chesed, loving kindness. So the gematria 42 connects to Gedulah. And then also Tovel. Tov is good, and then El, a name for the divine. Tovel, good God. Tovel. Tet Vet Aleph Lamed Tolvel equals 42. Also Ima, a term for Bina, the Divine Mother, equals 42. There are also, of course, 42 names of God in the Ana Bechoach. So, so we've done, so again, the Science of the Qabalah, published in 1823, the Office of Shem Angel 19, Leuviah. This genius governs our memory and intelligence. The person born under its influence will be amiable and cheerful, modest in speech and simple in manner, and will endure adversity with resignation and great patience. Athanasius Kircher's Oedipus Egyptiacus, published in the 1600s, has the divine attribute God quick to listen. The Psalm verse, Psalm 40 verse 1, I waited patiently for the Lord, and he inclined unto me and heard my cry. In Hebrew, Psalm 40 verse 2, Kavo kiviti Adonai vayet Eli vayoshma shavati. And then finally we get to the letter analysis, and we'll have a quick Cabalistic practice, which we'll do together in the video, and we will call it a day. What was the first thing? The letter analysis. So, according to Zohar Beshalah 14, the three letters of the 72 divine names, in this case Lamed, Vav, and Vav, are placed on the three pillars of the tree of life, giving a specific energy signature of each of the Shem angels. So, Lamed, in this case, Shem Angel 19 Lamed, is on the right pillar, and Lamad, and then the left pillar, in this case, of the Shem angel is Vav, and then the middle pillar is also Vav. So, what can we draw from this? I always make it clear that when I do a letter analysis of the Shem angel with a tree of life, nothing I say is truth, or nothing I say should be taken as the truth or dogma. It is one way to look at it, and I encourage people to unravel their own understanding of each Shem angel by looking at the three Hebrew letters on the three pillars of the Kabbalistic tree of life. Again, the 72 Shem angels are 72 mysteries to solve, 72 riddles, 72 mysteries, 72 keys that unlock our being and unlock different aspects of our life. So the right pillar of the Kabbalistic tree of life, again, this goes back about 800 years. The root of doing what I'm doing with the Shem angels goes back to the 13th century, and possibly much earlier, all the way to Shimon Bar Yochai, depending on perspective, but at least back to the 13th century with the Shem angel, or divine name. So the right pillar is expansion, and we have Lamed. Lamed means an ox goad that directs cattle. It shows direction, not this way, this way. So we have this idea of direction with Lamed. Also the Hebrew, the letter Lamed taken as a word by itself. So La is a word. Just the letter Lamed by itself is a word in Hebrew, and it means to or toward. La, like give this to him. La, lo, or lo, to him, right? La, o, to him. La, ah, to her. Li, to me. So, by the way, if you take the letters of the tetragram Yud, K, and Vav, K, Yud, He, Vav, He, pardon me for pronouncing it, for explanation, the Yud, if you put it at the end of any noun, becomes first person me. So, li, to me. The letter He, if you put it at the end of any word, becomes hers. So, la, Lamed He means to her. And the letter Vav, the third letter of Tetragrammaton, Vav, O, means him. So lo, lo, to him. So the three letters because the hey is repeated, it's actually 3, not 4 letters of the Tetragrammaton. Yud, Hey, and Vav refer to me, her, him, showing that really we all have our roots in the same thing. Maybe the divine is seeing itself through many different eyes, one could say. But le means to or toward, in this way. Again, an ox goad directs cattle this way. Also, lamad means to teach and to learn. There's a connection between teaching and learning. The letter lamed, lamad in Hebrew means to learn and teach. So there's this idea of learning, and Shem Angel 19, Leuviah, begins with a lamed. Shem Angel 19, Leuviah, does have to do with intelligence and memory. Also, the letter lamed is in the Sefer Yetzirah, associated with Libra. And think of the logical, rational part of the mind as like a scale that weighs this against that, weighs one thing against another. Anything that you want to do, anything that you think about logically, there is a logical analysis, a weighing things in the mind. So we have this idea of Libra and the scales, and Lamed, which is associated with Libra. Lamad, learning and teaching. La, to or toward, showing direction. And finally, the letter Lamed sticks up higher than any other Hebrew letter. All the other Hebrew letters are like down here. Lamed sticks up. It's higher than any letter, showing, again, direction this way, and teaching. This being on the right pillar shows an expansion in intellect, an expansion in learning and teaching, an expansion of direction towards the divine, directing our attention. The letter Vav associated with the left pillar, the letter Vav shows in a way these 6 sephirot, the midot, in the world of Yetzirah. These are emotional forces, they're internal forces. By putting Vav here, we're directing our being. What are we directing it into? Again, Vav, which another letter is Tiferet. Vav is Tiferet, and it's the 3rd letter associated with the middle pillar. So all of our being is turned inward to the heart, to the mind. So this makes sense, Leuviah, because we're doing learning, or we're directing ourselves to connecting with the divine in that quality of the Shem angel and name, seeking the divine, or finding knowledge and memory. Direction and teaching is expanded. And the left pillar of restriction, direction, limitation, directing all of our forces. Vav is seen as the 6. All of these different forces above the body, but these emotional forces around the heart, centering them in the heart, either seeking the divine or placing the attention with knowledge. Again, Tiferet is the sun, which is also enlightenment and light and knowledge. So whether we're working with the Shem Angel 19, Leuviah, for learning and intelligence or memory, or whether we're working with Shem Angel 19, Leuviah, for seeking the divine, either way, we have this expansion of attention and direction, and getting all of our focus at the heart, or in what you're learning, or immersing yourself in a book, immersing yourself in a study, or immersing yourself in the divine. So this is my own, I encourage people to come up with your own interpretation. You don't have to listen to anything that I say on this, of course. I want you to seek and unravel the mystery of the 3 letters on the pillars, but this is my understanding and how it's kind of clicked together for me personally. So, that is that for the Shem angel. Let's end with a practice. I'd like y'all to end with a practice with me. We are going to end by the recitation of the divine name using base vowels. It's a different interpretation from Leuviah because it's a different method of pronunciation using base vowels. Lamed is pronounced la because the ah in the word lamed, la. The vavs we're going to pronounce like Sephardic wa. And in the word vav, there's a ah, vav. So la, wa, wa. It's funny at first working with la, wa, wa. At first, just the sound sounded kind of silly to me. And I mean, no offense, it sounded kind of silly to me, la, wa, wa. But as I kept doing it, la, wa, wa, la, wa, wa, I felt it is subjective, perhaps personal, whatever, it is subjective experience. But as I personally recite the name La Wa Wa, I began to feel that divine presence, especially at the heart, La Wa Wa. I believe, from my experience, it does plug you into the divine, La Wa Wa. So, let's do a practice together. And this is traditional Cabalistic meditation, reciting the 3 letters of the 72 divine names, goes all the way to Abraham Abulafia, probably way earlier with base vowels. So, we're going to do it together. This is traditional Qabalah practice, goes back 800 years at least, probably much more. So, La Wa Wa is the divine name. Again, different pronunciation from Shem angel name because we're using a different pronunciation method, base vowels. So the divine name, La Wa Wa. I want you to think of a purpose. What is your purpose with this Shem angel? Do you want intelligence and memory? Or do you want to seek to plug into the divine more, which will actually empower all of your Shem angel workings? Having more of being more plugged in will help all of it. So what are you seeking? Are you seeking memory and intelligence, or are you seeking plugging in more with the divine? Either of these things. Now you can do a Shem angel working, or you can do what we're about to do, divine name practice. They're 2 different methods for the same thing. Okay, so we're going to do the divine name practice, and I encourage people to spend at least 30 minutes a day working the divine names with faith. Okay, so, alright, so we're going to do the practice. What is your purpose? You don't have to think hard. It's just an exercise for the video. What is your purpose? I want you to do it with me. You, the viewer, you that are listening right now. Yes, you that are hearing the words coming out of my mouth. We're going to do it, okay? Do the practice with me, y'all. Do it with me, y'all. What's your purpose? Are you looking for learning, intelligence, memory, or are you wanting to plug into the divine? I know what I want. Okay, hold your intent. Again, you're not willing it to happen. You're not willing it to happen. This isn't like other types of, this isn't like magic, like that type of practice. It is magical, but it's not based, you're allowing the Hebrew letters to work. You're allowing the power. You're allowing the letters to manifest. You hold to your intent and you allow it to work. Okay, it's like becoming, it's instead of filled, I'm going to make it happen. It's like Reiki. You allow the flow. So instead of trying to will it to happen, no. Focus on your intent and allow the letters to work and have faith and be receptive. Be receptive. So here we go. Think of your intent, whether it's plugging into the divine or memory and intelligence, and we're going to hold the intent in your mind, and we're going to recite the name 10 times. I want y'all to do it with me, each exhalation. All right, focus on your intent. Say the name with me, y'all. Here we go. Focus on your intent. Leuuiah. 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 Do you feel a difference? Do you feel anything? So I encourage people to spend 30 minutes a day doing that. And if you want to add power to it, visualize the Hebrew letters. Visualize the letters Lamed, Vav, and Vav, and recite the name. This is traditional. It's been done many centuries in Cabalistic schools. Many centuries. We know this because of the writings of Abraham Abulafi in the 13th century. We have his Haye Olam Haba written in the 1200s. We know that this is traditional practice in the Qabalah. It's been done many centuries. We're doing it, y'all. We're doing the practice. I'm late on this video. I'm sorry. You don't have to follow quinaries, though. I just do it for convenience. You don't have to follow any timing. But there is another day and a half left. I've had a lot going on, but I got to get myself together, you know. I've got to get myself together. I've had a lot of other things drawing my attention. But if you're following the quinaries, there is a day and a half left, but you can work with this all you want. You can work with any Shem angel at any time. So I apologize about, being late. But there is more time with this. If you're following the quinaries, another day and a half. And anyways, thank you so much for joining me, y'all. I really appreciate you. If you found this video useful, please give me a thumbs up. Every little bit counts. Give me a thumbs up. And consider supporting my Patreon if you find my videos useful, because I spend a lot of hours every day studying and making these videos. So if my videos help you out or whatever, or enrich your life, if you would like to consider subscribing to my Patreon, it's a $10 subscription, and it's like getting me a cup of coffee once a month for my videos. And that's where my other half of my videos go. Only half of my videos are to the public. The other half of my videos, half of my content is Patreon only. So that helps me to do my work. So thank you so much, y'all. I really appreciate y'all. And yeah, I recommend these two books, by the way. I recommend Science of the Qabalah by Lazar Lenain, published in 1823. I recommend people get that book. And just to have 72 names, 72 names of God, technology for the soul. Just look up 72 names of God, Berg, B-E-R-G, 72 names of God, Berg. The full title of the book is 72 Names of God, Technology for the Soul. The author is Yehuda Berg. So I recommend these two books, Science of the Qabalah by Lazar Lenain and 72 Names of God, Technology for the Soul by Yehuda Berg. Both are great to have. Thank you so much, y'all, and I will see y'all in the next video. All right. See y'all in the next video, y'all.